Mac is back. Mac McCarthy joining us on Pirate Radio Live. Coach Mac, how you doing, sir?
I am good. Hope you had a good 4th of July and a good trip.
I hope you did as well. And went through your neck of the woods briefly. Try to get through Richmond as quick as possible because sometimes things will get backed up there. In fact, it did on the way, but on the way back, made it through pretty smooth. But yeah, back at it, and another week, another day closer to football, and we'll hit
Yes.
some football topics with you today. A little NASCAR and college basketball nugget as well. But let's start. Let's start with the football. And Jared, I want to start with you real quick because the new college football video game, Coach Matt, came out. And
hmm
Jarrett came in today and said he likes the new feature that has real coaches, which includes head coaches and assistant coaches. And I was like, well, what difference does that make? Well, now I see. So, Jarrett, tell the world what happened after the 2025 season on your game.
A lot of craziness. So Sharon Moore, head coach of Michigan, went to the NFL. So Steve Sarkisian went to Michigan. Brian Kelly got fired from LSU, so Lane Kiffin went to LSU. Brian Kelly then got hired by NC State, and Dave Dorn is now the head coach of UTSA.
Mac, how do you break down all those moves?
Hey, with AI and all the misinformation out there, nothing surprises me anymore.
And honestly, that's a crazy shakeup, but would it shock you if that stuff happened?
I mean, Steve Sarkisian winning the national championship at Texas and then going to Michigan.
A little
That was
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, a little crazy.
And Dave Dorn going to UTSA, kind of funny.
How about Brian Kelly? Because we're going to talk a little SEC, Coach Mac. What would have to happen for him to get fired at LSU?
No, I mean it's possible. They've got a little bit of a precarious schedule, but they'll probably be so good it won't matter. That first game is a big game though with Clemson, the battle of the Death Valleys, and while Clemson returns a lot of players and folks, I think kind of expect them in a lot of circles to win that game because it's at home and the returning, of course, two returning quarterbacks in that game, which is unusual. We won't have that a lot among the ranked teams, but. Uh, the SEC folks are pretty sure LSU will go into Death Valley and prove who has the best one. But that's a I love the first week. There are some huge
Yeah,
games, and Ohio State, Texas doesn't get any bigger than that. But LSU and Clemson is a close second.
I was going to bring that up. I was looking at the SEC non-conference schedule and these games at the beginning of the year, and Auburn, Baylor. I don't know if do the folks in Waco have anything for Auburn.
Well, Baylor's going to be pretty good. Baylor could win the Big 12. Of course, everybody could win the Big 12, so maybe
Yeah.
that's not a bold statement, but yeah, that's a really big game for both those coaches.
Of course, Texas, Ohio State is the headliner. How about the Battle of the Oranges, Syracuse, Tennessee? What's your outlook on the Vols?
Well, the Vols quarterback situation is certainly up in the air, and Syracuse is coming off a very good year. Tennessee had a good year, got to the playoffs, but maybe not quite what they expected, and they certainly thought they'd have the quarterback back. Nico took leave of his senses maybe and took off out west, but that they've got kind of a backup quarterback starting, but Heupel's done a great job with unknown quarterbacks before, so it wouldn't surprise me if they weren't good again. That's a pretty big step. And Syracuse lost their quarterback from a year ago.
Lost Mac. See if we get him back.
Which on paper shouldn't be much of a game with Lenore Sellers coming back for South Carolina, and they look to be loaded already, a 12, 13, 14 point favorite.
It's funny that Mac went out, I think, as he was saying Virginia Tech was going to lose to South Carolina. I think you just didn't want that on the record.
No, I mean that's the most likely scenario, and I know we're going to talk a little more SEC, but there are a lot of big games for the ACC that first week. You got Clemson, Florida State against Alabama
I was going to
in
say,
Tallahassee.
you like the Tide to take care of business there, right?
Probably just so many unknowns, but you've got some brilliant minds down there, and Florida State's not an easy place to play. You got Miami, Notre Dame, you got Belichick slash Jordan against TCU.
Yeah.
TCU thinks they're going to be good again. There are a lot of big games in the ACC that opening weekend.
And then week 2, your headliner involves the SEC team against the Big Ten team. So Texas, Ohio State week 1, Michigan, Oklahoma week 2, and Matt, we'll kind of go through your SEC power rankings. It kind of looks like a 3-headed monster, right? With Texas, Georgia, Bama, I guess. But like, where's Oklahoma fit in the SEC?
Well, I picked Oklahoma to have a losing record their first year, and they went 6-6. I almost called that right, and they were probably way less than they expected. But the quarterback transfer they've got and the recruiting class they may make a big jump, but yet they still have a really hard schedule. I don't see them going much beyond 7 or 8 wins even this year because of the schedule, and that's something that with these unbalanced schedules, you got to spend some time looking at who teams play and where they play them. But yeah, it does look like Alabama's schedule is very favorable. They do have the game at Georgia, and then Texas has a favorable schedule, although they've got a tough one right off the bat. They could lose immediately. And Georgia has probably the best looking schedule, but golly, Ned, Florida could be good. South Carolina could be good. LSU could be good. Tennessee could be good. So A&M has got some talent, but a really tough schedule for them. So, it's really the big three, and then a scramble after that to see who can hold on to their job.
Mack McCarthy joining us today, and I was going to ask you who your favorite is outside of that 3, and you kind of just named all the candidates there. I love Sellers at South Carolina, but does Beamer have enough kind of around him to finish in the top half?
Yeah, and again, they play a pretty difficult schedule too. That's not going to be easy for them. So A&M has the toughest: Notre Dame, Florida, Georgia, Texas, South Carolina. They really have a tough schedule. But I think as I reflect back from looking at the schedule, I think Oklahoma could probably get to 8 with that new quarterback. But that would mean they were in the hunt too.
Haven't mentioned Missouri. Are they worth mentioning?
They've been better than people have given them credit for,
Yeah.
but I think they take a step back this time, and not so much that they'll take a step back as I think other people are. Florida's finally got their stuff right, and South Carolina's got their stuff right, and other teams have improved to the point where I think Missouri takes a step back a little bit. I think Kentucky takes a step back a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Vanderbilt comes back to earth a little bit, and poor Mississippi State. If relegation was alive and well in college football, they would be in the Mid-American next year.
Mark Stoops. It feels like maybe he's hit the peak there at Kentucky, and man, he's done an incredible job. But I don't know. It almost feels like he might have should have got out while the getting was good. Who knows? Maybe he could have another good year, but they seem like they're trending the wrong way.
Yeah, I agree with that. And he lost his number one guy, his top assistant to Louisville of all places. And that guy had done an incredible job of recruiting and getting them some of those guys they probably wouldn't get on a normal situation. And I think that I don't feel them trending in the right direction. You're exactly right.
Mac, as far as Heisman candidates go in the SEC, how about Nussmeier at LSU?
I think he should be probably getting more love, but the fact that he's not going to be on probably one of the top 3 teams, may hurt his chances. And of course, the runaway preseason favorite is probably Manning. But I think there are a lot of quarterbacks in ideal situations, but it's just going to be who can come through for their particular team against their particular schedule.
I saw I guess this was college football. Yeah, it was national coaching rankings, and they had Kirby Smart at number 1. As you look at the SEC coaches. I mean, we've got the big boys at the top. Who are your favorite SEC coaches? Maybe not the best, but who would you like operating your program? I guess you've got some Beamer ties there in Hokie Land. How about where does Shane Beamer rank amongst those coaches?
Shane's done a good job there, maybe even a little bit better than I expected. But it's just really tough when you're in the league with Alabama and Georgia and LSU and Texas, A&M and their money, Oklahoma and their tradition, and Auburn with their inconsistency, if you will, and Tennessee with a great history, and it's just so hard to beat that pecking order. And I think Kirby Smart probably has done the best job. In the SEC, it would be hard to argue with him. And of course, Kelly's done a nice job. Florida made a big comeback last year, and I'm still on the DeBoer train. I
Okay.
think. I think he's going to do fine, and I think they'll be back in the playoffs. And if I'm Alabama, I'm not a wait and see guy. I'm buying DeBoer, and
All right.
that could be you. You might be able to play that at the end of the year and make fun of me, but I'm a DeBoer fan.
What remind me who is Bama's QB?
Well, they've got a freshman that's really good, but they've got a kid coming back from last year, and I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Okay.
But yeah, they have a guy that was on the team last year that's going to be the starter, I think.
Life after Milrow there in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
don't think that'll be a big. I don't think that'll be a big hurdle to
yeah.
make a step up.
And have you ignored Lane Train on purpose? Are we not talking about Lane Kiffin or what?
We can talk about Lane.
Where's Ole
He's
Miss? Where's Ole Miss in all this?
Yeah, transfer portal U, and they have a difficult schedule too. And he seems to lay that one egg a year. And last year it cost him getting in the college football playoff. They did a really good job, but when you start talking about talent on a roster, they're in the top half, top half in that league is dead gum good.
Mack McCarthy joining us. Jared, any SEC talk before we move on?
No, I agree with Oklahoma. Just I don't see them being anything special. I just don't like Brent Venables.
Maybe they go a new direction after this year.
I think they should. I mean,
I don't know, Mac. If they get to 8 wins, is that enough to appease the folks in Norman? You said they could
Yeah,
get to 8.
yeah, and it's going to be close.
Yeah. All right, Mac. One topic I wanted to hit with you today. This is very random, but I don't know why I rewatched this. I hadn't watched it in a while, but it was the Dave Bliss Baylor documentary. I think on
Wow.
Paramount Plus, and you want to just talk about despicable human beings. That story just gives you the creeps, whether you watched it, that lived it then, or watch it today. But basically, a Baylor basketball player shoots another basketball player, kills him. Dave Bliss had paid for this guy's tuition, bought him a car, and after the fact, so I thought Mackey was kind of trying to cover up the murder stuff, but no, he was trying to cover up that he gave him money basically, and said that he got all this money to pay for a new car and pay for school by selling drugs. So basically, made up a story and told his players to say this. Thank God for the assistant coach who had all this recorded. It's amazing the actual evidence that's out there. But Mac, you were coaching. This was early 2000s, right? So you were you were kind of prime Mac. Well, I don't want to say past your prime. You were prime Mac back then. But what was it like in the coaching community living through this, Mac? Because it put a black eye on all you guys in the community.
It really did, and there've been some really terrible happenings, events in college sports, but this has to be right up there among the walk of shame of all time. And It was a black eye on everybody, and I think the reason that it's kind of been forgotten more quickly than you would think is because people don't want to think of that can happen in college sports,
Yeah.
but it did. It was awful, and people survived it. Bliss got another job. The president got another job. I mean, people survived that thing. It's really hard to believe that anyone came unscathed through that whole process, and it would be interesting to revisit that and see just where everybody is and how their life has changed because of that tragedy.
You should have seen Jared's face when you said Bliss got another job. I can't believe he talked on the documentary. And he was sitting in a gym, I guess, wherever he was coaching, and continuing to trash the guy. He said this is for off camera, and they put it all on the documentary,
Sure.
and continued to trash the guy. It was tough to believe.
I've never heard of this story.
You got to check it out.
I'm gonna watch it now, but
Yeah.
like John Gruden can't get another job. This guy,
Things have changed.
I mean, good lord.
Yeah. But man, that's just an odd.
Yeah,
I mean,
can you imagine that going on with social media today?
Right? Yeah, it totally, out there. But again, we move on from stories pretty quick these days. I don't know if he'd get another job, but he would be out of the headlines because a new thing would.
He'd
pop
be
up.
working at Barstool.
Yeah, he'd do a podcast with Gruden. Dave Bliss, man. Did you talk about that with your team, or was that just I'm sure you talked about it with your staff.
Yeah, more the staff. I think
Yeah.
the team, they're when you're that age, you're oblivious to anything that's not impacting your daily life, to be honest.
Yeah, good point. Good point. All right, a little NASCAR J Bone and had a boring road course race.
I didn't watch it. I just refused to watch the Chicago street course. I'll check out a road course race, but the Chicago street course I have no interest in whatsoever. So
You did say the week before was fun though, right?
Atlanta was electric. Just from being a dumb redneck. I mean, half the field wrecked. The ending was amazing. With six or so passes for the lead at the end. But Mac is gaining some steam here.
Mac, would you describe yourself as a dumb redneck? Just curious, or was that just Jared
Probably,
talking?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Mac, Mac won with Elliott last week,
Elliott
right?
at
2
Atlanta,
weeks ago.
and then he was the only one to not have a DNF at the Chicago street
So what do
course.
the numbers say?
The numbers say you are falling. I have maintained my lead. I got 24. You have fallen all the way to 15. And
Yeah.
Mac, keeping climbing at 8.
All right, yeah, Mac's on my heels. Wow. Okay. So Jarrett, rocking and rolling. Where are we at this weekend?
Sonoma.
Okay. Sunday.
It's Sunday. Sunday at Sonoma.
Sunday at 3:30, and an actual road course. And I was watching a Richard Petty interview today. He said there's a big difference between a street course and a road course.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said I could live with the road course, a couple of those a year, but street courses weren't interesting to him at all.
Are we still taking that dude, Jarrett, or are we taking the
Van Gisbergen is the best bet. I mean, for a road course, street course, but you can't go wrong with Larson or Bell. I feel like.
All right, Mac. Any winner for us this week? I hadn't asked you in a while.
No, Sonoma's a little bit different. I like one of my guys this weekend. I kind of like Blaney. Sonoma's a lot different than anything we've seen so far than Coda or Mexico or any of those others.
When did they do qualifying for this?
Day before.
Because with these roads, that's very important.
Yeah.
for picking a winner, right? To see who's lined up where. Like Mac, if you have a guy, can a really good driver, your Larson or like you said Blaney or you said Bell, if they start 25th, would you still pick them to win this race, or are they out of it?
I would.
No, strategy is all over the place on a road course. You can short pit, you can pit before the end of the stages. Although there was more strategy, to be honest, before there were stages in road courses, and there's a pretty good movement to do away with stages in road courses alone, because the strategy is already built in with how you pit and when cautions come out. But yeah, you can go to the back and come to the front in a road course just by strategy.
Okay, all right. Mac, did you see ECU's new basketball court?
I did. I like the pirate script. All this belly aching about it. I think that's a cool logo.
Well, you're probably on Facebook or whatever, and that's what the folks there do. But yeah, I like it too.
I just heard a lot of people griping.
Yeah, I like the pirate script. I'm a fan of it. So
Yeah, I'm not on Bookface.
It's probably a good thing.
I saw your granddaughter there. Pirate Radio posted some pictures, so
That was very nice. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Miss Claire McCarthy Stefanik is doing well, going into her 4th week, and she's doing great.
Good deal. Good to hear. All right, Mac. Enjoyed it, man. Good to have you back in the saddle, and we'll talk more football next week. I kind of like going down a conference, so let's break down. I guess we'll go Big Ten.
Okay.
Kind of boring. Kind of boring.
Let's start
but,
talking a little more football, a little more specifics.
Yeah. All right. We'll do some Big Ten next week, and talk to you then, man.
Thanks, guys. See y'all.